Your Success podcast family. We are here with episode 8 of season 2 with a very special episode because we have an honored guest here with us today. A dear friend of us, a dear friend of our podcast, a member of our community, Miss Jill McDonald, is joining us to have a deeper conversation about real transformation, about community, and truly to help give some inspiration to you. I think if you're struggling, because you hear from me and Caroline all the time about this is what you need to do and this is what real change takes. But sometimes you need to hear it from somebody who is exactly where you are right now to know that it's possible. So, yeah, are you excited about this?
It's so cool. I'm like, I'm with my people.
I love
I
that.
love
And I think that, like Jill, you just highlighted one of the things that is so crucial. It's a big part of this whole transformation, claiming your success thing is having your people and
it.
having a
Yeah.
community and a network and people that you're connected to that get it. Caroline, do you agree with that?
You know, 1000%. And it's exactly what you said. I cannot wait for Jill to start speaking about community because that's the one thing that has stuck with me when, going through the entrepreneurial journey. Community is not highlighted enough. Community is not shared
Mm.
enough. The reason why so many of us are successful is because of the people that are around us and keep us accountable and keep us going. So I cannot wait for you to share more on that, Jill, because that is why I am here, because of the people. Exactly that. You are with your people. It's so hard to find us diamonds.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yeah. But
Jill.
but then it's not. But then it's not. So just to give a brief introduction. So Jill is, she's a mom, a wife, an executive in her career, who has been, she's from America. So she's in my neck of the woods across the ocean from Caroline. And what really stood out to me, why I reached out to Jill and asked her if she wanted to join us in this conversation today, was that she's somebody who's like so committed and dedicated to her personal growth in order to see things shift and change in her
Mm,
professional life. And that's something that we talked a lot about in season 1 specifically, but it's something that I don't think enough people talk about is how changing in here for you has the inevitable repercussions in your life as a whole. So,
mm,
Jill, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So I am a huge proponent that the nonprofit sector, where I make my profession, is so in alignment with the entrepreneurial sector. Like, you are always going to be somebody that has multiple hats. You're always like, it's
mm.
never going to be just a 9 to 5 thing. And you have to have that mission and vision, right? And one of the things that in working with Sabrina that really highlighted was all of the things that I do for other people and communicate with them about is what I needed to do for my damn self. So, as I like started on my health journey, I was not able to show up in the way I wanted to. Um, I work with a domestic violence program that serves victims of domestic violence, but then we had also taken on this program that provides education to those that use abuse. And because as the CEO, I didn't do a lot of direct work. I did a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I was the only one really not working with victims. So now I'm starting to do this work with partners that offend. And that was something that like really checked my biases, right? But if we're gonna work on this mission and address some things to make a family healthier overall, I can't just work with one side of the equation and make any change. But I was doing it going 1,000 miles an hour, not really working on myself. I come across Sabrina and I had been doing kind of this health journey very siloed. And she was like, how's that working for you?
As I like to ask, you know.
And so I joined the Inspired Nation. And as we would have conversations, I was like, how is it that I talk about this all the time to other people, but never like in my brain, it was siloed. Like that is for others, that is career, that's not you. And I like had to chip away at this wall that was like, this is my like it's bigger than the agency that I work for. This is my personal mission and
Mm.
vision as well as the agency.
You know, I heard it's the saying that we have over here, practice what you preach. And a lot of
Mm.
the times as well, when I'm doing content, I'm like, this is for me as well, team. Don't worry, you know, because it's also my reminder. And we easily forget that we have to put ourselves first before we can even help other people, you know. And it's so much easier for us to tell someone something. And then if we're going through it, we can't even tell ourselves that. We're so harsh on ourselves when actually it should be the other way around.
Yes, absolutely. And then to get into the Inspired Nation and have this whole community of
Mm,
powerful women that are doing work in all these different areas, but also working on ourselves. And it just reinvigorates. Like, there's so much to be said for, like, we are the energy generators. Like, you can't sit there and be like, I'm so tired and think that energy is just going to come to you. It doesn't work that way.
doesn't. And I think it's another thing people forget is when we're on such a big like entrepreneurial journey mission, we want to not just like impact one or two people. Yeah, we start that with what we tell ourselves, but we're looking to impact thousands. So how we show up for ourselves is important because then we want to impact those people to do the same. And that's something that I think also gets lost in when people think, oh, it's just a, a business, it's okay, no, it's not okay. What we want to do is impact thousands of people. Sabrina, was you going to say something?
No, I've got a lot to say actually, but I'll leave some of
She's
it.
been
I'll
too
leave some
silent
of
for
it.
too long.
I'll leave some of it.
Something's off.
But I wanted to grab that what you said about why we think that we can kind of treat ourselves poorly, but
Mm,
then show up powerfully everywhere that we need to, why there seems to be that disconnect. And I want to ask that question of both of you, actually. Jill, why do you, like, from your experience, why do you think there was that kind of disconnect or not even recognizing that the two things could be related? And then Caroline, I want to hear from you too with that.
So I feel like, and I know we have talked about this privately, because we seem to share a brain, but a lot of it
Yes, we
came
do.
from like being a kid and learning like my value was in showing up in the way that others needed me to. That is how you got attention. That's how you got positive reinforcement versus
mm,
negative. So I feel like that aspect is so ingrained, especially in us as women. You are to put everything on the back burner, and I gladly did it for my kids for a long, long time. But I also think like, what is what would things have looked like if I had made more time for myself for them? Um, and I can't go back in time for that, but you kind of just wonder when you aren't your healthiest self, then you're not giving that good whole energy to others either. So like everything gets weakened that way. Um, and so I think that's kind of where it originated from. But then also as women, we connect so well to each other. And so always having really good positive women in my life to like help uplift during difficult times made such a difference. And so like amplifying that, the more growth work I've done, I can see that need.
Love
it
that.
definitely that. So, how we are when we are, brought up through our childhood will play a part in how we go about, well, for me in my 20s. I feel like for me, it would be like a lot of belief, unknown, always thinking I had to wait for validation to be told, for the next step or that I'm doing well to do this, do that. So that I think does play a big part for me as well.
Mm. I think it's just so interesting because I think when we talk about it like this, we're all like deep in our own journeys. We've had some successes and we're still working towards our more. It's so obvious to look back at either the version of us that existed before, like Caroline's been sharing a lot on her social media recently about how she was before she entered her entrepreneurial journey, and just reflecting on that and then thinking, gosh, about my journey, watching Jill go through hers, it's like it's so obvious when you look back, but it's that whole thing about hindsight being 2020, right? It's so easy to see how much of a shit show it was when you're not in it
Yeah.
anymore. So it's so obvious when we're talking about it now, but I think there's so many people that get stuck in that reality that they can't see the wood for the trees. So Jill, what has been your biggest breakthrough in your journey? Like, can you pinpoint a moment or a moment that was a catalyst for a big shift? Like, can you identify that?
I think, like a lot of folks, when the pandemic hit and we were forced to pivot in so many different areas, I mean, so much so that even the word pivot is cringy at this point. Like, let's be real.
We've
So,
banned pivot, we've banned side hustles.
Pivot
so,
is banned.
but um, it our work, like the work that I do in the nonprofit sector, it didn't stop because domestic violence did not stop. It amplified. And I had all these other friends in the sector that were in other arenas, and they were like, "Oh, poor me, like I miss socializing." And I was like, "I need some damn air." And so through that, though, a lot of resources came available. We shifted the way we operated, and all of those changes, I think, through it being forced, lifted a fog of some sort. And we were definitely in survival mode, but then I was like, when was I like able to do these things? Simultaneously, my kids both went away to college, like out of state. They're 2 years apart. One took a gap year, one didn't. And so they both go in separate directions. And the way that we kept in touch was sending Snapchats of all of us walking, because they were putting on freshman 15 or whatever. And so they wanted to do some health stuff. And they were challenging me to. And I had put on, like, mind you, baby weight from 20 some years ago, still there. And so it kind of started that way. And it was a way to stay connected with.
Mm. What do you think was the mindset shift that happened for you? Can you identify like one thing
One thing, oh man, you're putting me on the spot. Um, I think
or the biggest thing?
the biggest thing was like to just do the frickin' thing. Stop waiting for it to be perfect. Like that has been a huge component for me, is like recovering perfectionist. And so
Can we just highlight that again, because I feel like that's one thing that we find a lot of our community is zoned in on, is it always being perfect. Please say that again.
absolutely. So like just getting past it and starting it. Do one, like do the thing, even if it scares you, even if it's not perfect, even when you look like a red balloon in the mirror when you take that picture afterwards, because Sabrina and Shanti kicked your butt. Like, um, but if you don't do it, you never get better.
Backstory, guys. Sabrina was actually, if you know what body is, listen, a fitness app. Sabrina was on WhatsApp.
I was.
Sorry. That is what that
I
reference
Hmm.
is.
was.
You will
Hmm.
see her head there doing the workout. Sorry.
It
Making
was
it look
the
like nothing.
Right?
one of the biggest honors of my life was being part of that project. It was so special. Um, gosh, just I think Caroline like made you repeat that and made us like rewind for a second because pull up because so it that is the big block for people, isn't it? Just getting started. And we talked, I think we had a whole conversation in one of our episodes about procrastination and what it actually is. And I think perfectionism is very similar. Perfectionism isn't actually, and you guys know, I'm a big old geek. I like to read a lot and read a lot of studies and research a lot of stuff. And there's more and more coming in the like psychological literature that when we talk about perfectionism and people being stopped in their forward progress because they're wanting things to be just right, it's not actually what they think it is. Perfectionism is it's a safety net of sorts for people. It's not actually that they have this high standard of execution. It's actually, if they say I'm a perfectionist, everything needs to be just so before I do it, then they never actually have to do it, because perfect doesn't exist, right? So if we're always seeking perfect, then we never actually have to get into action.
Exactly.
Okay.
Never even thought of it that way, you know? Wow. And that's, yeah, mind blowing. Learn something new every
It's
day.
like, but Jill, like for you, having that kind of perfectionism mindset and knowing that you work in an environment that's high stakes, right? So there has to be, if you having to show up in your best energy, there's a lot more at stake to that than you just, wanting to lose 15 pounds or
Yeah.
whatever. So when you think about breaking through that need for things to look just so, was there was there a specific kind of block for you that existed, or did you just have to get to that moment where you were like, well, we just got to get moving?
I think it was a little bit cumulative with trying to figure out like there's never going to be the perfect answer or the perfect time. And so like having some trust in if I'm doing things with good intent um and actually being present has done so much work for myself, because a lot of it is that paralysis analysis of, okay, so if I'm not my best self, I go into this room with 15 guys that are, some of them are still with their partners, some aren't. Um, and I'm just an asshole that day. What am I
Mm.
sending them home to? What am I like, what am, and again, I can't own someone else's actions, but I also need to be mindful of the situation. And so that piece, it is a there's like a heavy burden there, but there's also like when I do show up and I do take care of myself and I am in that space to show up with curiosity and good intent, then I can have a very real conversation about like how do you get healthy so that you can be a better dad, partner, human, etc. Because nobody wants to go back to jail. Nobody
Mm.
wakes up and is choosing this every day. A lot of it is like learned behaviors from growing up and observation of that. Not that that is an excuse by any means, but we still have to heal that aspect.
Could you, oh, do you want to go?
No, 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 you go.
I was going to say, could you share some of your habits that have helped you to help you show up better in your line of work?
So for me, my morning routine is
Break that down for
everything.
us. Break that
Morning routine,
down.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So like I wake up, I choose hydration as much as I want to choose coffee. I choose water first. Um, I
I love
journal.
that.
I,
Choose hydration, people. Yes,
it sounds
that's good.
simple, but like seriously, we're all basically a plant, right? Um, and then I work out, I get my workout. I get,
Start watering me more. No, that's
yes.
such a good metaphor. I'm so sorry.
Water me more.
Um,
Yes, it is.
so then, and then I have to get my workout in the morning because I will not, like by the end of the day, there's a thousand excuses. If I know it's done, it's done. And so I'm also really fortunate in like my, our assistant director who oversees all of the direct services side of things. Her preference is to get in, get her kiddos to school, get to the office, do her thing, and then when she gets home, that's her downtime. And so we pivoted our schedules so she shows up early. We have a good chunk of the day that we are both available to whichever teams need us. End of day, I stay later. I'm available for any of those weird end of day things. And so that has been really, really key. I use Growth Day to keep my professional development going. It's an app, it's amazing. Sabrina hooked me up to that. And like just having that good juju in my ears because you're surrounded with negative stuff. So like I'm very cognizant of what I'm letting into my ecosphere.
I think, can you not reiterate, expand on that a little bit? That negative part, because I think you, more than most people, and I hate to say this in such a judgy sounding way, but hopefully everyone will get what I'm saying. But you, more than most people, have an actual reason to be negative, right? Because your environment is incredibly like fraught and tough, kind of like high energy, but negative kind of hard energy that you're in every day, all day. So how is it that you don't allow that to kind of infect you and let it be the reason you say, "Oh, I can't show up for myself," or "I can't show up for what it is that I'm trying to create"? How do you protect yourself from that?
So I have um our team, there's 24 of us, and these are the women you want in your corner. These are the women when stuff goes sideways, you want to have your back. And I'm so honored to do this work with them. And one of the things that one of them shared with me is like, we are not meant, we hold space for folks. We aren't meant to take it on. We hold the bowl and set it down for others, because they also can't hold all of that burden. And so, like, just even that visual and that intention of like, I'm here to hold the space for you, but I'm not absorbing that. However, like when your barriers are down and you aren't making those like conscious choices and really being thoughtful and present in it, that's when that stuff starts impacting you. And social media, it's curated for me. Caroline's on my social media, Sabrina's on my social media, the Inspired Nation ladies are on my social media, but I don't spend time and energy with things that make me feel less than. Or that I allow myself to feel like that way, that cause like, not that I'm not informed. I am very informed on things, but like I choose when to do that, if that makes
I think
sense.
that's so key. Yeah, makes total sense. And it made me think about something that Bill Blocker once said. He's an author and kind of a speaker. He said, "You can feel it, but you don't have to keep it."
Hmm.
And I thought that was such a powerful way of, because I hear from people a lot, and Caroline, I'm sure you get this too, people that we mentor, where, hard things are going on in the world. There's really hard stuff going on in the world right now. And there's a new news cycle that tells you about something else. And I hear from people like, how can I possibly show up on social media and talk about like my offer or the thing that I'm selling or how it is that I want to serve my community when there's such darkness and hard stuff in the world? Like, how can I possibly do that? And I that's the answer I often give, is I share that quote: "You can feel it, but you don't have to keep it." Because in amongst all the hard and the dark that's around us, we have to be the light sources, right?
Right. That makes me think of it's like we're on the entrepreneurial journey. We want financial freedom, right? And that's the life that we expect to work for ourselves. So that means abundance of money as well. So it's like when I went last year to Senegal. It was so heartbreaking when I was going on an excursion and I had to go through a few villages. And then along while we was on the coach journey, the rep was telling us about the villages, and they were talking about the kids with the buckets. If you see kids with buckets, that means they have no parents. They are left to fend for themselves, and the buckets is because they're begging. I had to cover my eyes when I was going through that village, and it was just like, I can't even look at this. This is so heartbreaking. Um, and all I thought exactly that. It's like, okay, maybe I'm not going to show up on social media because of what I'm witnessing, but then the impact I'm looking to make, the financial freedom I'm looking to create, the abundance of money that is there waiting for me from the success I can have, then I can use that to potentially go in. Me and my partner ended up spending, I think it was just under £200 going to an orphanage and gifting loads of stuff from the supermarket. Imagine if I then get to that 6, 7 figures out monthly that I want to create. What I can do so much more. So exactly that, Sabrina. We have to be the light and continue to keep showing up, because what we can create can potentially have an impact on this world and all this stuff that's going on right now. So if anything, it fuels me more I don't watch the news for a reason. When I see it on social media, it actually fuels me more to show up more and to keep going. Because then when I get to where I want to get to, I can actually start to make the impact I want to make in this world.
Mm. Exactly that, Caroline. I couldn't agree with you
Yes.
more. I could not agree with you more. And I think for Jill too, you're living and breathing that on a day-to-day basis, because you said, if I show up in a shitty mood and I'm, not present with these men that I'm trying to serve and better their future and give them new insights and hopefully shift how they decide to show up in their relationships. If I show up and I don't live into that mission, what am I sending them home with? A bad attitude, another example of how people don't care, another example of how they're judged or they're never going to be seen as being better than this. And what do they then lash out to that person that's at home waiting for them, hoping and praying that things will be different this time? So it's something that Oprah Winfrey shared. It's like be responsible for the energy that you bring into the space. Any space that
100%.
you're in, be responsible for the energy that you bring in there. So if it's not what you want, if you want something to end, be part of ending it.
Oh,
Absolutely. And
powerful.
like that quote is something after we had talked about it. I don't remember where. I feel like it came through when we were doing our 12-week mentor
Mm-hmm.
session. But um I preach that because we have the privilege of working where people live. We have a shelter, we have apartments. And so where most folk, like I feel like generational, it may be a generational thing. Like my dad went to work to like be frustrated at the man for like forever. And so we don't have that luxury in mission work. Like you show up and you're showing up in someone's home. And so we need to be respectful of that energy that we bring in. You don't, and out of that, like it is so important that you take care of yourself. So we really adopted that first lead yourself mentality of like you have to pour into you, you have to do the hard work. It's not all bubble baths and like a treat yourself day at the store. Like those things are all great, but a lot of it is doing that journal prompt that's gonna like rock you to tears.
Yep.
And then processing that with a therapist or with a coach or whoever is safe in your world to do that with, because you are meant for so much more.
Mm, mm.
Something you said,
That,
do you know what? I'm watching time as well, Sabrina.
I think we're
Well,
going to be over time, and I'm
we
okay
going,
with that
yeah,
because
I'm fine with that as
this is
well.
good.
That's what I was gonna
This is
say. Are we
too
fine?
good.
We just
It's
gonna
too
keep
good.
going? Yeah, because I'm
Yeah,
fine to
just
keep
keep going.
going.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's where you said about the older, like the different generations, and this is something I'm noticing a lot as of recent. Um, love my mum and dad, right? We know this, but how they lived is completely different to how we live now, and they know the norm. Go to work, get paid, have the security of the job. That's it. And sorry, I just wanted to highlight that because that's something where a lot of people feel, yes, they think we have to always listen to our parents and they're always right. But please understand it's not the case because it was different times. They didn't even have social media, they didn't have the internet, they didn't have so many things. We couldn't create anything through our phones. And even that I've managed to sort of, show and teach that with to my dad through and my mum through my entrepreneurial journey, through network marketing. They were not happy when I started it. They thought I was leaving my job.
What are you doing?
It's I think it's so important to recognize that, like, for those of you that are listening, that maybe you don't get the support from your family members or the people in your circle, they're not supporting you in the things that you're trying to create, and you're so, like, it's the thing that's going to make you quit. Like, you have to
Hmm.
listen to what Caroline just said. And I've got an example too, like, going back to the pandemic. Gio has been with his company that he's worked with since he was an apprentice when he was 18 years old. We're 43 now. Like, he's been with the same company his entire career, and he's
Yeah.
done incredibly well for himself with his company. But when the pandemic hit, um, pension scheme that he'd been working so hard to pay into, gone.
Whoa.
everything that he'd been doing that was like the markers of being with a company for a long time, the attractive things about being with one company for your career was things like, you know, he had a final salary pension. So whatever whatever salary he was on when he retired, that was going to be his pension. That scheme went away. They took it away because of what happened with the pandemic. So we do all of these things with security at the forefront of our decision making. When the pandemic, like 5 years ago, it taught us that security actually is a myth. Like you can do all the right things, and if you're working for somebody else, or all of your income is coming from one source, or you're in an environment where it's okay that you don't take care of you because you've got this job and you've got this job forever and it's fine. That it's a myth. It's a falsehood. And something that somebody once said that really hit me, they said, you're always interviewing for your next position. Every way that you show up in your employment, in your relationships, in your how you show up for yourself, you're always interviewing for your next position, because how you show up today matters. It's not just you know, I was about to say audition. You don't audition for a job. You interview for a job. You don't just like fill out that application, go for the interview, and you show up as your best self right there. And that's what's going to determine whether or not you get that job, especially if you're going for a promotion. Every moment of your work life in that company's environment has been your interview. What boss is going to give you a promotion if on a given Thursday afternoon you're effing off and coming in with a bad attitude because somebody made you mad? But then when you show up for your interview on Monday morning, best foot forward. No, it matters how you showed up before, right? And that's what I always think about, like people that operate under this like sense of security, and they shy away from entering an entrepreneurial journey or really claiming their success, whatever that looks like for them in whatever avenue of life that is, for fear, you know, fear of the uncertain,
It's
fear
fear.
that it's fear, it's all fear. But
Mm.
when they don't do that because they're seeking something that's more certain, certainty's a lie.
Someone
I
at
don't
work
know.
doing this right now. It's a shame,
Caroline's so
honestly.
vexed. Caroline's so
Sorry.
vexed. She's rubbing her face. She's like,
Do you know what? Because that was literally what I was told that they were saying. One of someone was saying, one of the youngest staff member who's on the entrepreneurial journey in trading. Oh, you should start. You're such a good seller at work. Why are you not doing something for yourself outside of work? And you know what it was? They said, replied, "I'm scared of the people online. They can be so rude. That's stopping them, and they're incredible on that sales floor." What? Imagine that. You're more scared of someone, what they're going to say online, than what someone's going to say to your face in the
to your
store.
face. Mm-hmm.
And they're
It's mad,
amazing.
isn't it? It's mad. The things that we let stop us and block our progress and our success and our forward movement is mad.
People are
And
going
it's
to
that
say it
has to shift.
anyway.
They're
Mm-hmm.
going to say it anyway. And they probably have had said it. They probably have said it. And then they're still going to let it stop them.
Jill, do you have any questions for us? Like, I think we should think about wrapping it up because we don't want it to be a 3 hour long episode, and it very well easily could be. So, Jill, do you have any like burning questions for us? Something that you think you need to hear or somebody else needs to hear?
So, what are your trajectory changing books or resources that, like, for you both are like, this is the book I give to everybody?
Mm. I feel like we talked about this a little bit last session, but I feel like the book Caroline currently is reading is a big one for you. Do you
Oh
think?
my gosh.
You forgot the
What the
name?
title is? That's how much I'm just honestly. So Jill, something you listen this as well. Caroline ain't a big reader. Listen, names, celebrities, all that jazz. No. I can just tell you what the book about.
Rich Dad, Poor
Oh,
Dad.
Dad, that's it. I can probably tell you the last line I read. I remember the title. What is
That's
gold?
hilarious. That was
Oh,
so on brand.
I
That was
love
so on
so,
brand
this.
for you, Caroline.
but it's no lie. That's when people like to be. Oh, did you watch that program the other day? It had so and so celebrity. Who are you talking about? So and so
Mm.
celebrity, and I'm like, do they know me? No, I didn't know their name. Tell me their character in it, and then I can know who you're talking about.
I love it. So
And then also
rich
one
dad,
that
poor dad.
poor dad right now, and one that has stuck with me that I will be revisiting again is "There's no plan B to your A game." Like that was fire, 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 fire. Sabrina,
Yeah.
this is your forte.
Man, so many, so many. I think a
What
lot
about,
of
sorry to
the
interrupt, what about if you had like one mindset one maybe
oh,
entrepreneurial? Yeah,
oh, okay,
yeah,
yeah,
'cause that's
that's
different
good. Okay,
topics.
that's good. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. Thank you,
You
Caroline,
got
for
to
picking
narrow
it
her
out.
in a
Because
little.
she's
Yeah.
yeah, she's like, I know Sabrina can't just say one. There's no way.
Yeah.
I would say the top mindset book is either Untamed by Glennon Doyle or There's No Plan B for Your A Game by Bo Eason. My top business strategy one would probably be The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And I read that as a business strategy book. It's also a mindset book, but I read that in terms of business strategy. And then the best one, I think, for like your like mental, emotional well-being, all that stuff, is probably Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life by Bob Proctor.
I've seen that one floating around a lot. I'll have to jump on that one
So
soon.
powerful, so powerful. I think that's such a good question because it's better than just like, what's your top personal development books? Like, what's your trajectory shifting? I like the way that you worded that because it's understanding that what you're reading, what you're listening to, just like Jill said about her social media being curated to the positivity that she wants to absorb, what you're reading and what you're listening to, podcasts, books, audiobooks, whatever, it has to be in the direction of your forward progress. It's not just reading a book to say that you've read a book or reading a book because that's the cool one that everyone's talking about. It's recognizing where it is that your growth, like where your growth needs to go, and reading and listening to things that are in that direction.
Absolutely.
So good.
Also, like find stuff that brings you joy. I know we're wrapping up, but I just want to share this one little moment. So I was in an interview process. Like I'm just going into the nonprofit sector. I've worked so hard, all of this. And my mentor at the time who was interviewing me, he became a great mentor. He one of his questions was like, what's on your bookshelf right now? And I lied my ass off and tried to make it sound like super smart. This textbook on blah, blah, blah. And it was a biography of like 90s hair bands, heavy metal stuff. And I went through three interviews to get that job. And that at the end, like once we got to know each other, and I was like, okay, so I lied, and this was actually what was on the shelf. He said, if you would have said that in the first place, I would have hired you in the first interview because I would have known you would have fit.
Have been like, you couldn't
That's
give me no
so
side
funny.
eye to tell me just be quiet.
I feel like you might have judged me, but yeah. So read for what brings you
Be
joy too.
honest. Yeah, yeah. So true. Stop doing stuff that you don't like. Stop doing stuff that you don't like because you think that's how it's supposed to be, you
Yes,
know?
embrace your authenticity. Be you.
I love that. Love that so much. Gosh, I have to say, and this is the last thing that I'm going to say, Caroline, you can close us out, but I just sitting here, like the thing when I was silent at the beginning and they were both like, Sabrina's still there because I don't do that generally. I was just listening and watching Jill speak, and I had a lump in my throat, and you can hear that my throat is a little bit scratchy. Just watching this magnificent woman who I've gotten to know not only as a client but also as a friend, just how she's blossomed. I feel like when Jill and I met, she was already, she already had this incredible position in her career. She was already a successful wife, successful mother, lots of success. But there was something where the light was kind of missing from behind her eyes. And to see her here talking so eloquently and so confidently and being so excited about her life and her future and her mission and what she's here for, it made me really emotional to watch because that's the difference that we all get to make for other people, right? Caroline hit
Hmm.
on it about how when you show up powerfully for yourself, you don't know who's watching and who needs that. And when you are in a position like we are, where we get to lock arms with and continue to work with those people that we impact, you have moments like this where it's like, wow, I played the smallest role in Jill having this breakthrough in her career, and then how she now is a catalyst of empowerment and change for the people that she touches. This is what's at stake, and I just wanted to acknowledge Jill for everything that I see you doing, and thank you for spending your time and your energy here with us, and thank you for being the greatest blessing that a coach could ever want, is to be their work in action.
You are
Thank you.
such a beautiful soul. I appreciate you more than words can say. Like, seriously, I'm
Oh
gonna
Cross.
my God.
cry, but
Echo.
I'm trying
Echo
to keep it
effect.
together and not go like to the pitch that only dogs can hear. So I just love you so much.
I'll do that for you.
Oh
Oh
man.
gosh. And like just to close it off, Jill, thank you so much for coming today. And listeners, this is what you're seeing. You're seeing a ripple effect here of influence. You're seeing community. You're seeing what it is that holds us going and keeps us going. You know, all of us staying together and just staying focused, sticking to the plan, not listening to the excuses, re- keeping to your vision, remain in belief, and then just pouring into you. On that note, until next
Thank
time.
you. Bye, guys. Thank you,
Bye
Jill.
Bye.
bye.
Thank you.